If I could have one wish, I would make everything that's blue turn green and everything that's green turn blue. Can you imagine how much more fulfilling life on Earth would be if the sky was green? No matter where on Earth you happen to be located, you could always look up and catch a glimpse of green. And then of course we would have blue trees and blue grass. Goes without saying that I would probably be a professional soccer player by now if the grass I had practiced on all those years had been blue instead of green. I just would have had so much more energy and wouldn't have been so scared to slide tackle. I will admit, a green ocean will take a little getting used to. It would be like swimming in a giant magical potion. I think the most confusing part would be the way that common phrases would change. People would be blue with envy, and to be feeling green would be to be feeling sad. In any event, I don't expect a genie to grant me a wish anytime soon, so chances are none of this stuff is actually going to happen. From a very young age, I've always known that I'm going to be the sole photographer at my wedding. I just can't imagine placing a task of that magnitude into the hands of anyone other than myself. I'm well aware that this is going to produce a slew of difficulties, but I fail to understand why you would keep things simple when you can make them as complicated as humanly possible. Unfortunately, I'll have to be absent from group photos because I'll be taking the group photos. But I plan on making up for this calamity by taking selfies with all of the guests. As a matter of fact, all the pictures that include me will have to be selfies, which is obvious because I will be the sole photographer. My hope is to revolutionize the art of wedding pictures, to strip them entirely of their formality, of their pretentiousness, and imbue them with the sense that we are just a couple of people who sooner than later will look back on this day with nothing but regret and resentment. Lately I've been thinking about starting up my own vineyard, heading out to wine country, picking up some spare land, throwing some grape seeds in the ground, and watching them grow. I've always loved wine. Not the wine itself, but the idea of wine. I think it tastes disgusting, but that's probably a good thing for a future owner of a vineyard. If I loved wine and I was around it all day, well, let's just say that doesn't sound like a very healthy relationship. In case you don't know, the way to make wine is very simple. You just pick all the grapes you can find, throw them in a bathtub, throw on some rain boots, and get to stomping. You stomp and stomp and stomp and stomp and stomp until there's nothing but grape juice. Then you take that grape juice and you pour it all into mason jars. Then you take those mason jars and bury them in a cemetery and leave them there from anywhere from 5 to 10 years. The decomposing bodies in the cemetery give each wine its distinct flavor. A truly distinguished wine connoisseur can actually determine how the person died whose tomb the wine was made in. Yesterday I read the first 80 pages of Wuthering Heights. It's a story about two absolutely absurd families who live out of town in a couple of mansions. I shouldn't say absurd. It's just that there isn't one character, not one character, who isn't catastrophically flawed in one way or another. Catherine is this wild spirit who is caught between her desire to assimilate in polite society and her passion for mischief and wrongdoing. Heathcliff fulfills her passionate side, while Edgar fulfills her desire to not be poor for the rest of her life. At the point I'm at in the book, she just married Edgar, and Heathcliff has gone off in a rage. Heathcliff has just returned. It was a quick. And the epic standoff between Edgar and Heathcliff is about to unfold. I feel like my short summary has made it sound like more of a soap opera than it actually is. It's more of a tragedy in which the tragedy isn't what happens to the characters, but how ridiculous the characters are in principle. Back in the day, I used to be a professional dog walker. I'd walk pretty much everyone's dog in town. I'd take them to the park and set up a ball machine for a limited fetch, and I'd teach them tricks like somersaults and flips. I stopped doing it because, well, it didn't pay very well. Turns out most people don't appreciate it when you take their dog on a walk without asking them first. What can I say? I just can't help myself when I walk by a house with a dog all caged up in the back and no friends in sight. I say bring all the dogs together for fun and games while the humans are at work. Oh well, what can you do? I'm sure my genius will be recognized long after I die. I never went to one of those schools where I was made to wear a uniform. I've always had full control over my fashion decisions. Looking back, I've come to realize that I haven't always made the best choices. There was that day I thought I would try wearing banana peels instead of shoes. I couldn't walk 5 steps without falling on my face. There was that day I decided to make my own sunglasses out of barbed wire and a broken television screen. My face got all bloody and I couldn't see where I was going. And of course there was the day I tried to use a piece of bamboo as a belt. It snapped and my pants fell down. At least I know I'll never have to make those mistakes ever again.